So last night I was looking at the YouTube analytics things on my phone here and noticed that I have 253 subscribers to this channel, and I don't know what you guys are doing. This sounds like you need to get a hobby or something. Go do something else. But I certainly do appreciate y'all watching, and that's not why I'm putting these videos together. I hope they help somebody, but I'm really just kind of doing it for my own entertainment. But one thing I asked all you folks each video is, if you like it, subscribe. That's really nice, but kind of more importantly to me, any questions or feedback I'd really appreciate. And so I went and wrote down a list of questions and things people had asked so far, and thought it'd be kind of fun to go through the list of this real quick and maybe generate some more questions. Again, I'll probably get some of this stuff wrong, so feel free to correct me or ask more questions. First one I have on here is, are you ever going to reload a... I can't talk. Are you ever going to review a Hollywood gun shop reloading press? Those are pretty collectible. They have quite the following. There's all kinds of, there's a handful of different varieties of them, and they're all super neat. Unfortunately, most of those are priced well out of my budget for my collection. If I ever run across one that's affordable, or one's gifted to me or something, I'd love to talk about it. I don't have any Hollywoods in my collection so far. Again, mostly just a budget kind of thing, so hopefully someday. Question number 2. Why don't you restore or repaint any of your old presses? And that's kind of a fair question. Most of the stuff I have is a little grimy, a little beat up, paint's coming off, all that good stuff. But they're old, right? And to me, they got that way because of use, or in some cases misuse, and that's kind of their story, right? And that's really what I'm interested in a lot of this stuff, is kind of the background story. And so to me, it's kind of more important to preserve what I already have. So I'm in the middle of kind of cleaning this guy up here a little bit, and I'm not gonna strip it down and repaint it or anything. It's really just kind of remove the rust, lubricate it up, clean it up a little bit so it functions. I'm not terribly interested in restoration, getting things back to just looking brand new. I'm more interested in preserving kind of the way they are, prevent them from decaying anymore, and really trying to figure out the backstory. So I actually do have a couple of presses that are pretty beat that I probably will go into a little bit more of a restoration, simply because they're just pretty terrible condition, and neither one of them are terribly collectible. I've seen lots of them out there, and so really it's kind of just going to be a side project. So that's why I don't restore most of my presses. Another question I get every so often is, how many calibers do I reload for? And I think I can count 8 off the top of my head that I actively reload for. I have quite a few other sets of dies and stuff that I could reload for a lot more things, but I reload for the guns that I have, and it's I think 8. So 9mm, 45 ACP, 380, 44 special, 44 mag, kind of lump those together, 357, 38 special, lump those together, 308 Winchester, 6.5 Creedmoor, and 270. Okay, that's 8. And a follow-up to how many calibers is, what equipment do I actively use? Obviously I have a bunch of random kind of collectible presses, but the things that I actively use, I have a rock chucker. This is the RC4, kind of their newest version. I actually don't even use the single stage too much anymore. It's mostly just for depriming. Most everything else I do on my Dillon 550 or my Dillon 450. The 450 is actually set up just dedicated to 6.5 Creedmoor seating, and I have a separate tool head I can do all the 6.5 prep for in the 550, and then tool heads to do basically everything else in the 550. love it. It's a great machine. Besides reloading gear, I also collect deer antlers. These are all ones that I've shot, and I've had a couple folks ask about the stories behind those. Kind of my real passion is bow hunting deer, and so every one of them that you can see behind here is a bow harvest. Really enjoy deer hunting. I've got a couple of videos on that. Actually, my brother's got really cool ones on his channel. You should check it out somewhere down here. Kind of, explaining how we hunt our family farm, and so really enjoy deer hunting. I have shot a couple with a rifle. You can't see them, they're off the side over here. My first two I did shoot with a rifle, but those were almost 20 years ago now. Everything since then has been with a bow. Really enjoy bow hunting. I also hunt turkeys in the spring. Haven't shot one with a bow yet. Haven't actually even tried with a bow. I really enjoy turkey hunting, but I'm kind of a believer that I best do that with a shotgun. So I do enjoy that as well. Jim G says, "Why do you make these videos? They're boring." Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. It's not your cup of tea. It's great. Watch them. Use them, put yourself to sleep. I don't really care. So, I do this because it's fun for me. I like talking about this old equipment. And, like I explained before, someday my kids are going to have to go through all my junk, and this will help them figure out what it's all for. And, maybe they'll learn a little bit about it, and maybe some other people learn something along the way. Just something I like to do. I don't even know what question number we're up to so far, but it's the first one on the back page here. Tell us more about your fat little dog. Well, we have a fat little dog, and she looks like this. You'll probably see her running around sometimes in the background. Most likely you'll hear her come tapping and jingling down here. If I make a video at late afternoon, early evening, she wants food, so she'll bug me until I go feed her. This is probably my favorite question so far, is what presses do you still want to talk about, or which ones do you want for your collection? And my number one item on that list is anything that's homemade or shop built. And for a couple of reasons. One is, a one-of-a-kind piece, right? If it's something somebody built in their garage, made at home, machinist project, whatever, it's likely the only one in existence. So that's pretty cool. Number two on that is that those are products of somebody's real passion for machines and for reloading. So it's not a big commercial effort went into something that really their ultimate goal is to try to make money off of, right? I mean, we certainly appreciate companies that stand behind the sport and are champions of the industry, but in reality, making money is kind of their goal. They can't do it for free, right? So these things that are homemade, that are built in somebody's shop, that tells a story about that person and what they're really passionate about. And so I think those are really cool. Beyond homemade presses, right now I'm actively looking for a Dillon RL300, one of Dillon's, their first press kind of marketed toward the average consumer. I really like one of those for my collection. I'm looking for an RCBS, what they call it pre-A. So again, they're kind of entry into the reloading market. I'd like the other versions of the CV Schmitt presses. There's a couple of them out there. Those are pretty hard to find, so I don't know about that. And then there's some others that are just pretty interesting. The Potter is pretty cool. I'd like to have a Potter as well. So if you have any of those, know where I can find them, let me know. Here's a question that is all over the internet and directed at pretty much anybody that's been in reloading for very long, and that is, I'm a brand new reloader. What should I get to get into reloading? And my very first answer on that is always, well, buy yourself a good book, or watch a lot of YouTube, and so you kind of have an idea what you're getting into. Even better than that is find somebody that is into reloading and hang out with them for a little bit. that's actually how I got into it. I had a real good friend in college that was into reloading for competition. Nick, if you're watching, you better like this. You got me into this mess. Anyway, find a friend that's into it, hang out with them. I realize some people that's not an option, so books and YouTube is the best. But if I were to, recommend equipment to get into it, I don't know that there's really any bad answer to that, but I would recommend just buying a complete set. So almost every manufacturer offers a package that has a press, scale, the little funnels and all that odds and ends that you need to get into it. And then you just add your dies and your shell holder and your components and you're all set up to go. I don't know that there's really a bad option on there. It's kind of what you can find and what your budget allows. And so that's a good option. Get into that. Of course, as you grow, you'll probably want to replace pieces, and that's great because then there's always somebody else out there that wants your stuff. And you won't have any problem moving on or give it to your kids, whatever, your neighbors. Not a bad option there. Some people say, oh, you got to start with a single stage press because you got to learn all the fundamentals. And I don't know that that's completely true. Even, progressive presses like the Dillon 500 and 550, a novice can learn on that. It all comes down to just take your time, do what you're comfortable with, and, learn as you go. You're not going to be perfect your first time anyhow, and so, realize that. Don't do anything silly. Maybe pull down your first handful of rounds and check them again. Don't just immediately go stuff them in your gun and blow something up. But take your time. You're going to learn. You're going to smash cases. You're going to make messes. That's fine. We all do that. We all learn. Just be careful. Just be careful. And with presses like the 550 or even the 650, you can run them one round at a time. You don't have to cram each station clear full of a case and cycle it through and be cranking out 300 rounds at once. You can do them one at a time. So go slow. You'll learn. You'll be fine. Her Royal Fatness has decided to join us. So I've had some folks ask, where do I get my information for some of these old presses? And there's a couple of things I do. Some of them are pretty easy to find some information on. RCBS, for example, there's a long history of a lot of things being documented on those, so you don't have to dig too deep to find that. But it's really a combination of internet and publication research. There's a couple of really good reloading forums and reloading tool collectors, websites out there. There's a lot of good information on there. Even things like eBay listings sometimes have a decent amount of information. You want to verify it, of course, but I also have a big pile of old reloading manuals, shooter's bibles, kind of equipment catalogs, manufacturers' publications, all that stuff has information in it. So it's real good. One of the real interesting things to do is if you can track down a patent number off of something. Those patents usually have just a pile of information on them. And then, of course, if you can find the original equipment owner's manuals, those have a lot of neat stuff in them too. So keep those manuals around. But really, most of it is internet research. So at night when, finally got the kids to bed and I'm sitting in front of the fire and my wife is actually being productive doing something around the house, cooking or cleaning or whatever, and I'm doing research on my phone. So it doesn't look like I'm doing anything, but I am. So thanks, honey. The last question here is, do you wear anything besides sweatshirts? Well, I'm in my basement. It's wintertime. It's cold down here. And so that's kind of my typical wardrobe most days. And a lot of dog hair on this one, but I like sweatshirts. I like hats. Can't blame me, can you? So I do have a few other shirts. And you have to wait for it to be warmer out before those come out. So anyway, thanks everybody that's been commenting and asking questions. I really do like interacting with you guys, and so I like to just keep asking questions and keep commenting. I appreciate it. It gives me something to think about, and this is kind of fun for me. So I'm going to keep doing this. You know, Jim G, if you keep finding these boring, I don't know what to tell you. I'll try something different next time. So thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. YouTube page about, don't like any of that. You know, they're just a one-off piece. Let me redo all that again.